So, what did we do the other day? We moved on. We were talking about our posture and how important posture was the other day, and having the correct posture inside our exercises, which was interesting, about the alignment, having the alignment, and how it affects the exercise and how it affects our energetic body between the heaven and earth idea of the axis of that. We want to stay with that, the axis, or stay with the alignment a bit more today. We add another couple more pieces, eh? We'll bow into the class first, and we'll stay with a bit of the alignment. Yeah, the heaven and earth thing. Gong. Right. So we talked before last week about the neck being back, so we keep our spine straight, tucking our pelvis relaxed. We talked about the qua the other day, about lifting the quads, which opens the space of our lower dantian. And we talked yesterday about how we get the alignment energetically, but we're going to go back to the idea of the Baihui, the center column, Baihui Huiyin. Now, Huiyin is Ren 1, so it's the last or the first, depending which way you want to look at it, the first point on the Renmai channel, and it's between your anus and your genitals. And the Do 1 is on the other side of your anus so we've got Ren 1 and Do 1 either side of your anus. Uranus is in the middle, either side, one and one on either side. One goes up the spine, and the other one goes up the front of your body, up through the renmai, up through the center column. But the alignment is not coming out of Do 1. Alignment comes out of Ren 1. And so it comes from Baihui right through the center of your body. And I think you've all seen me. I've drawn diagrams on some of the online courses of what this looks like with this center column. It's the only time you'll ever hear it in Chinese medicine, because it's not something that they use to direct energy through in Chinese medicine to heal people. They usually use the meridians, the meridian lines, which are closer to the outside of the body, or they use the extraordinary vessels, which are another layer in, but the center column is very, very deep in the center of the body. And it's usually used as in a Qigong understanding, because of the enters from the points. So if I do it from this, and I've got it coming from the top of my head, coming out Huiyin, there's a direct line. And in theory, the third eye goes straight in and connects with the center column. The heart point at Ren 17 goes straight in and connects with it, and the center goes straight from the center into the center, and the lower dantian goes straight into it. And of course, there's a back door with Ming Men, and they enter into the center column, and that center column goes right through. It's like an earth spike that comes out through and digs into the ground, comes in through, and it comes out through the top to heaven. Now, we also know that, which is interesting, we're talking about the earth, the round earth theory, is that the round earth has an axis as well. It has from North Pole to South Pole, and there's a line that travels right through the whole of the column of the earth. Yeah, and it spins around this center axis. And so in human beings, we have the same equivalent of the center axis from the top of our head and coming out through Huiyin, and we have this polarity thing as well, because we have the yin and the yang polarity of it as well. And energetically, it comes in and out of that. And we do have, through our lower dantian, we have that spine thing we've seen the earth, where it goes through the equator, comes out the equator and goes in the North Pole and goes through the center, out the bottom, and comes around and does this figure 8 thing around the body, around the planet. Well, we have the same thing when it comes out, comes back in through our lower dantian and does this circle. And we can create that. But when we do that, if we hold our hands like that, we have a figure 8 that goes down. If we have our heels not touching but almost touching, or if you even touch the heels, it goes through the heels, up the other side, through the physical center, and around the arms. We stand like that. So we create a figure 8 energy from our arms and legs, doing the cycle around the body, depending which way you want it to cycle, but it will cycle both ways. And we have that idea. So this center column is such a pivotal idea or concept in our physical body and our energetic body. We have this earth spike connection to heaven and earth. And we do a lot of exercise where we sit on Ren 1, we do it when we're doing heaven and earth, when we're sitting in the tripod position. And you're sitting on your tailbone, but it's coming out through Ren 1. Ren 1 and Do 1 actually does both of them for that particular exercise. And you're sitting on that column, right from heaven to earth, and you've got your feet. So it's almost you've got your three parts of contact to the ground. And so it's important to understand that. So we have this this column. So the column itself is not a big thick thing, because you can have this bigger or smaller, and we're going to change the way we see it today to give you a different expression of what it feels like. So the first one we're going to do is we'll make it big. We'll do the big one first because it's more easy to feel. So I want you to have your center column about this big, about that big. Yep, it comes in from your head. And remember, it's an energetic thing, so it can't hurt you. So it comes in from your head, and it's that big. And it goes all the way through your body, that big. It's like a, I don't know, I'm looking at a piece of bamboo, which is probably about the size I'm talking about. And it comes out through Huiyin that big and goes into the ground. Now, if you put them both in that big a column, and if you spin on that column, yeah, that's good. It's like that. So you're spinning with this big thing in the middle, and the big thing's spinning from side to side. And your body's attached to the outside of it, and you're spinning from the outside, from this outside of this rather large sphere. Yep. You have that idea. And it's going from the center to center, so the whole body's rotating around this column, this energetic column. But the column, you're not sliding around, it's the column's not fixed. Remember, it's actually in your body, but it's actually moving with you. So as you move, this thing rotates too. The column's rotating with you. So as you rotate, you're going with it, yeah? It's not fixed, so it can actually slide, but as you turn, it's moving with you. So what I'm saying, it's not fixed, as if I stop, it keeps moving. If I go back the other way, it keeps moving. But it actually is moving with me as though it's fixed, but it isn't fixed. I've got to make sure it's important that you understand that theory. It's not stuck. It's not something, if I move, it moves with me, and I stop, it stops. If I move back to the center, it stops, and moves the other side, it stops. At this stage when I'm moving, it moves that way, but there is a way where it can go, and I can stop, and it keeps moving. Then I go the other way, and it goes the other way. So it's moving with us in a way that it has magnetic connection to it, but it's still free moving. It still moves around the body, still moves around that center column. It's still. I think you get what I'm saying. So just know that it's not the body's not stuck to it. The body's moving with it. But there's a flexibility that if it stops, the body has momentum. It'll still slide around it, still slightly, and so you still have that ability to do that. And that gives you a flexibility of movement, so it doesn't get you stuck. Yep. So we just put that idea, and we just move from side to side, and go from 10:30. If 12 o'clock's in our front, go from 10:30 across to 1:30, and we move our centre. So we think our tummy button and our third eye are in line, and it goes from 10:30 to 1:30. Depends which way I'm facing you at the mind. I'm not sure, but you understand what I'm saying. From 10:30 to 1:30, and your belly button, so your hips are turning, and your belly button and your third eye are in line with each other. Yep, and they're going from one side to the other. And think of the center column, and as you're moving, the whole thing's moving with you, but it's not stuck. So it moves with you, so you have this feeling of this rather large thing that's moving inside you. So when I'm moving, I can feel this whole thing moving, rotating from side to side. That's a big thing. Yeah, that's it. That's good. That's perfect, you guys. Looks great. That idea. Just have the concept of that moving. Very good. Now you're standing on your kidney points. You're standing with your toes, the toes are touching the ground, but there's no weight in them, but they're still connected. The toe, all the well points in the toes are touching the ground, but your kidney points are touching the ground as well, and you're sitting on your kidney point, but the toes are still touching the ground. So you have, even though your feet are staying still when your body's turning, you still have this feeling of the kidney point in the middle, yeah? Good, and have the point, the part from the top that goes to heaven, just have it disappear into have it sitting into a cloud somewhere. If you don't have clouds, just have it into the sky. And so you're just moving around that. Good. Now there's lots of exercises that use this principle in Qigong. There's myriads of them. Easy one to think of would be turn engaged at the moon. We're doing that same thing. We're turning on that pivotal spiral. Yep. We turn on the spiral. We're turning from one side to the other. As I say, there's lots of exercises. Wind Russell's lotus leaves turns on it. Turns on that center column. As we do the exercise, the same thing's happening. We're spiraling backwards and forwards on the center column. We're not changing weight. Cloud hounds is different because remember in cloud hounds you move from side to side, so it's different. We have a pendulum moving and a rotation, which is slightly different exercise. This one we're just doing straight rotations. What else does this rotate? We'll go to 5 minutes. We go to the hard exercise. Rotates from the center. You don't change weight. Rotates from the center. Rotates back to the front. What's another one? If we go into the Tai Chi exercise, of course, there's quite a few of them that do this. And, well, that both of them actually, when we turn, we do this exercise in Tai Chi, which is slightly different to floating silk hands, but we're still doing the pendulum and we're still doing the rotation, but we're doing the movement. But in floating silk hands, you don't have the weight change. You stay double weighted and you turn. Yep, what's this way? And you turn. So now we're still going on the center column and we're turning off the center column. It's not as complicated as the other one because we don't have a pendulum first and then a rotation. We just have double weighted rotation. So there's lots of exercises do this with this concept, right? Very cool. And as I say, lots of them have it. Now I want to change that because lots of them do it on single weighted. They do the rotational single weight, but it's a different concept because it's not going through the center column. It's going from your head string out through kidney 1 if you rotate on one leg, which is, what's that, Gong. We're doing Gong, and we rotate on one leg. I'm rotating from my head string down through the foot, and I'm going out through my kidney. So now the center column is going from my head string out through my kidney point, so the whole center's changed. And I'm spiraling around that center point. Oh, there's a low plate. And I'm spiraling around and I'm turning on one leg, but I'm turning from center column, so I've created a different version. It's not the one out of Huiyin anymore. Yep, and we're turning that one. So that happens when you're single weighted. So I want to change the concept. Now we've got the idea of this turning. Good, so I want to change it. And I want you to think of the girdling vessel, the daimai. The daimai is the belt vessel, like a belt. And I want you to think of now, it all depends whether you're an engineer or whether you'll know what I'm talking about. And the thing is a bearing. A bearing is like this big round piece of steel. And it has ball bearings around the outside. And it has another piece of steel on the inside. And when it turns, the outside doesn't move, but the inside does. And it moves around, the ball bearings move around on the inside of it, and the outside stays where it is, and it's called a bearing. It has that idea, yep. So what we want to do is we're going to have the idea of this bearing, but this time, as we move the inside, the outside's going to move too, so the whole thing's going to move backwards and forwards. And you're going to find with the inside, if it stops the inside's still moving. So you have the outside moving that moves the inside, and they're free, which is very similar to you having the pole when you're rotating around your center and knowing that you're not stuck to it. It's still, even though that you're turning with it, if you stop, it's still, there's movement inside it. It's not firm. Well, this is the same principle. The bearing on that side, even though I'm turning, the center of the bearing, even my hips to the outside, the center of the bearing still has this fluidity, even though it's turning with it, but it's not stuck to it. So it still has a little bit of an overflow. So as I turn this way, it still goes and then it stops and it comes back the other way and stops and comes back. And it's like this idea of it's this lag in it. It happens. Now there's an exercise that we all know that where this one happens a lot to understand the principle, and that's from, if you haven't done the Tai Chi exercise, it comes from the monastery. It comes from this exercise where you're going backwards and it comes back. And you go forward and you go forward. So it's slightly out of sequence. I'm going back and I'm going forward and I'm still going back. So I'm going forward and I'm going backwards. So it's slightly out of sequence of what's going on with the body. This is the same. So now I want you to get the idea of the girdling vessel as a big ring around your center, like a bearing, and the center part still turns around, can turn freely, but when you turn, it comes with you. It just comes with you. There's enough friction to get it to turn with you. But it's a free moving piece, but the outside is just going completely around and around to do that from your waist. Yep. Now you have to picture this, or you can put your hands on your hips and think if you've got your hands on the side of the bearing that goes right around, and it's even. It's even around your body, and you're turning. Keep your double weighted on the kidney points and feel like there's a bearing moving. Yep. And the inside's free to move inside it. I hope you can all get what I'm trying to point at here, so I'm sure you will. Cool. And the inside's still free to move. Even though it's following the outside, there's still a freedom that the inside has that's following the outside, and it's just the energy that's getting it to move. Yep. And just the bearing. And then go from the 10:30 to the 1:30 again for the bearing. So you're going from one side. So the outside of the bearing turns from 1:30 to 10:30. And the inside's still moving, but there's a freedom. It's still freewheeling inside it. But it is still moving. Very good. That's it. Perfect. That looks good. And so you can put your hands on your hips so you can feel it. Or you can have your hands down the front. Doesn't really matter. You can do what you like. Good. Now change it. Go back to the center column, which is the big thick one like this, with the middle center turning around and the outside, and it goes from Huiyin to out to Baihui, and it's connected to heaven and earth, and it's that column like that, and go back to revolving around that, and feel the difference. There's a huge difference how it feels. Yeah. The feel there's a center axis. It feels like the outside's getting thrown around a little bit. The outside's getting thrown around, and the outside's getting thrown because the piece in the middle's turning. And it feels like the flywheel, like your hands want to move like this. And I'm just doing that so you can see what happens when I'm turned to the side, because it's been directed by a center column. It's been directed by the center column, yeah? Good. And then I want you to change it, and then go back to the bearing around your waist and turn. The big bearing around your waist and turn from that. Now you notice you don't have the same feeling of your hands being driven out long, because the outside of your body's moving. You'll still get a little bit of the outside of the body, but it's nothing like when the center column is like that. Yep. And all you're doing is just changing in your mind, your intention in your mind, to have a different experience. And when I'm using the bearing outside, there's a freedom, because it's well oiled, so there's a freedom with this one. And it turns really smoothly and really simply. Go back to the one inside again, and so you're turning from the one inside. And it's a very, very different experience. And now all of a sudden you feel like your arms want to move a bit, because it's generated from a different place, and your arms feel like they're free to move from the center column. Go back to the bearing again, and then feel your arms, and it feels different for your arms now. They don't have the idea of that they want to fly out anymore when you're turning. They'll fly it a bit, but not like the other one. Then go back to the center column again, the bamboo in the middle, the big piece. And feel like that, and you go, as soon as you do that, you feel like, my arms have this idea they want to move further, because it's generated from a center. Good. So we're going to go the other way now. We've gone bigger. We're going to go smaller. We'll go bigger. Oh, no, we won't. We're allowed to change our mind, aren't we? We are. Good. We're going to go to a smaller one. So instead of having a big bamboo like that, you're going to have it about the thickness of your finger in the center. Yeah. Now, the center of that will turn around, but there's an inside of that finger as well. So there's the finger's that big, we're turning around that instead of a big bamboo we're turning around instead of that one. Now it's only that big. But you're going to still have the center still free. You don't want to lock the center to it, so this column still moves. So now we have a finger, and when we turn the fingers, you're rotating around the finger, but the center's still free. And just move from 10 to 2, and you'll notice what that feels like. Now there's a very different feeling of this. Of what this feels like when it's only that thick, but it's doing the rotation for you on the center column. Very different experience. Now the body's behind it. If you notice that the body's slightly behind, when it turns, the body doesn't go straight with it. It takes a little while to catch up. It's sort of following the turn. It's turning in the center. Your finger width is turning in the center, and as it turns, your body's sort of trying to catch up and coming back, so you feel like there's a little bit of a lag with it. Good? Good. And we're going to do all three of them together so you can experience the difference, so that how different they feel. Go back to the big bearing around your waist, to the daimai, and do the bearing and turn that one again. Feel what that feels like. Feel how it makes your arms feel. Feel how it makes your body feel. Good. Then go to the bamboo one, where you're sitting in the middle, so it's coming from a center core. Good. And then go to the one finger thickness from Baihui to out to Huiyin into the ground, and you're spinning on that one. Good. So have those three models. Now, in a class, I would get you to, so Rebecca, I know you're going to do a class, you can do this in your Pilates class, do a Qigong part of your Pilates class. and your yoga class, and you can get, so normally if in a class I get people to hang on to somebody's hips, so you can feel the difference. So they hang on to your hips, and first of all do the big one, do the big idea, and just move with that and feel what it feel like when somebody's holding on to it. Then go into the bamboo, the thick piece of bamboo, and then get them to hang on to your hips as you move from the bamboo. And then go back to 1 finger thickness right through your center column, and move from that turns from side to side, and get somebody to hold your hips. And then work out which one's the most powerful. They're all different, of course, because they're going to be different, but one's more powerful than the other. Yep. Good. So you can experience what that feels like. Now, for yourselves, if you have a partner or a friend, you go and grab your kids, or your husband, or your wife, whichever way it is, and you get them to hang on to your hips, and you do it so you can feel it. And then when they're hanging on to it, you'll be able to feel which one's more powerful, because you're not going to notice so much when you're just freewheeling. But if somebody hangs on to you, you're going to feel them moving with you. And if you want to, what you can do is tell them to put a little bit of force to stop you moving. Just a little bit, not a lot. You don't want them cramping down in your hips. Just put on the force and sort of stop me, but don't stop me, but just put a bit of pressure to make it difficult for me. And then do the big one, do the big circle, do the big bearing, and get them to put a bit of pressure and see how you move. They won't be able to stop you, no matter all 3 of them. And then go to the bamboo in the middle and try that and feel that, what it feels like when they're hanging on to it. They can stop that. And then go to the little thin one and then see if they can stop that. And report back to me. Report back, message me if after you've tried it in a class or with your friends or somebody. I don't want to give you the answer to that. It's better if you discover it yourself. I don't want to tell you what I think it is or what I feel. I just want you to discover it yourself, and then it becomes real, because then you remember it forever if you discover it yourself. And then work out what it is. But I'm going to give you another one. I might as well. No, I won't. No, because I'll spoil it. Leave it for that one. Tuesday next week. If I remember, I might even do it Thursday, but then we'll do it a different one. I'll do one on Tuesday or Thursday. Seeing I've done it today. I'll do it next Thursday. So the same people will do this class, because you guys always do Thursday's classes. So I'll do the same one on Thursday. I won't do it on Tuesday. I'll do it on Thursday, and I'll give you then other pieces to this. So have a practice. You've got a week to try it with somebody. Hold your hips. The big band, the big one turning from your hips. The bamboo from the center. Feel that one turning your hips. And then what it feels like when it's a finger thickness and it's turning you backwards and forwards. And notice that all 3 of them, the center part's free. The big one, the center part's still free, even though the outside moves, but there's a center bearing inside still turns by itself. So the center's free, the bamboo, the center's free, and when there's the little one, the center still moves around inside it. It's still free from the outside. It has to be free. You don't want to lock it. If you lock it, something else happens. Don't lock it. Have the center still free, and the center it follows it, but it's slightly behind it. It's sort of like it has the movement, but it's just because of the momentum's moving it, and it comes back the other way. And so there's a freedom that comes with it. Yeah. Don't make it too loose that when you turn it doesn't move. Have it so there's enough friction when you turn it turns with you. But you'll just feel there's a freedom that comes with it. There's an energy that comes with it being able to move without you stopping it. That you don't have to do. You're only doing the outside piece. Try those 3 and with your partner, and I'll do it next Thursday. I'll go back and we'll call this, I don't know what we'll call this, rotation part 1. And then we'll do rotation part 2 next Thursday. I'll remember to do that. I'll make a mention of it. And Mark, you can remind me on Tuesday not to do it on Tuesday. Because I know you come to Tuesday's class, you can remind me not to do it on Tuesday, and we'll do something else. And so I do it with you people today, because you're usually here, and we'll do it on Thursday's class. And we'll do the next piece to this. But do try it. As I say, just get somebody to hold your hips. And if you want to try, get them to hold it harder. Yep. And then work out which one has the most power. Which one has the most power. And you'll be surprised how this works. That's very, very cool. That's a really good class. I haven't done that for a long time. My last time I did that class would have been in New Zealand. Heavens, would have been over 10 years ago since the last time I did this class, and I did it live, and I did this particular rotation. But there's another part. There's 2 more parts, and I'll do that next Thursday. So I don't want to do it all at once, because it'll spoil it. Otherwise, the other part won't be as precise, and I don't want that to happen. So you get a week of practicing it. Try that. And then know when we do exercises and for Mark who does Tai Chi and anybody else that does Tai Chi, when you're stepping and you're holding the ball in your step, and then you do the rotation. You do the rotation in your hips. You turn your hips when you're turning. Yeah? And you have that idea of the rotation when you turn and you rotate your hips. Is it coming from a big one? Is it coming from a little one? Or is it coming from a little one? Is it rotating through this point, through the barkway, through your foot? Is it coming from a small one, or is it coming through the centre? And being aware of which one's driving it, because different parts of the form have different drivers. Whether it's the big piece like this, or whether it's a finer one when you're just turning, and you're turning on a fine point. They're slightly different, and the Tai Chi form has all different varieties of that, depending what posture it is, because they thought of it. Very cool. There you go, that'll keep you busy. It's a great thought, isn't it? And then you can think of whether the planet's spinning around or it's flat. I'm just joking. But it's literally, it has the axis. The axis is important. But the centre column, the one with the big bearing, it's like a top. It still has the centre, the top and the bottom, and it has this big thing around the middle that's spinning. The big thing around the middle is spinning. It's like the centre point still going heaven and earth, but it's spinning around the outside like that, even though the centre column's still spinning, but it has that thing. So that's what's driving it. And the bamboo's driving it, and then there's one little finger driving it. And experience all of them. But as I say, the easiest way is to do it, get somebody to hold your hips so you can feel some resistance, and then get to put a resistance so you can feel which is the strongest. There you go. Keep busy for the week. Fly on the wall. Darling, can you hold my hips for a second? Can you hold my hips? I want to practice something. That's good. Well, get your kids. Doesn't matter who it is. Get somebody just to hold your hips so you can feel it. You need some resistance to push against. Very cool. Have a beautiful weekend, everybody, on Thursday. Roll back on your thumbs. Left hand underneath, right hand on top. Gong. Cool, and step back. I always find it amazing. I'm sitting out here talking to a camera, but I feel like I'm talking to you personally. It's bizarre how it feels. I've got so used to doing it and seeing you on the computer as though I'm talking to you. And it's really cool. It's like I'm not actually here by myself. You're here. So I don't know how that works. It just does. Have a great weekend, everybody. And